In the fall of 2013, Gary Temple Bodley began channeling a group of non-physical teachers known as Joshua. Soon thereafter, Joshua asked Gary to start writing. They have since produced 4 books and answered hundreds of questions in written form. In the spring of 2016, on the Law of Attraction cruise, Gary underwent hypnosis and Joshua spoke through him for the first time. Since that time, Gary has been practicing channeling Joshua verbally in live weekly calls with one-on-one students. These Joshua calls are now available to those of you joining us on the leading edge of thought. This is the expansion of the Law of Attraction. This is Joshua Live. We're thrilled you're here.
Thrilled to be here.
Well, hello.
Welcome back.
Well, hello. How have you been managing without us for these 2 weeks?
Just limping along.
Have you been
limping
able to
along.
hold it together? Excellent, excellent. Well, we've been watching. We know what's going on. We see the vibration. We have an idea of how you're doing. We see you from a higher perspective. Do you know that the only difference between how we see you and how you see you and how we see the magnificence that is you and how you perceive the limitations that are you is just that we can see you from a higher perspective. We can see everything that's going on. We know how the universe works. We know how physical reality works. We know what you want. We know what you intended prior to your birth. We know how all the forces are aligning. We know how you are going with the flow or resisting. And so from your perspective, it's much different than from our perspective. From your personal reality, living your personal lives, you see challenges, frustrations, blockages, problems, things going wrong. From our perspective, we don't see any of that. We only see how perfect everything is. You perceive fear and danger. We cannot perceive fear and danger. When you transition to the non-physical, we shouldn't say transcend. Transition. It's not a higher place. It's just a different place. It's just one is physical and one's not physical. So when you transition from one dimension to the next dimension, from physical to non-physical, you'll look back in your life and you'll see, oh, yes, it all makes sense now. Oh, yes, I appreciate this and this and that and that. Oh, yes, I could have lived a more limitless experience of life, but it's no big deal because that life happened in a blip. And it's just one experience and one series of experiences. And now, through this experience of life, no matter how you've lived it, you will expand. And from your expanded place in the non-physical, you will birth new desires to come forth and experience new things. Now, having said that, can you really make a mistake in life? It's impossible because all you're doing is you're experiencing things, right? Now, having said that, could you enjoy life more than you do now? And we say yes. And how do you do that? You do it by seeing yourself from a higher perspective, by seeing yourself or imagining yourself in the way you think we see you. So, let's imagine that you have a hamster, and you put this hamster in a cage, and you give him a little wheel to spin on and a little track to move around in, and from your perspective outside the cage, well, you know that there's a mall down the street, and there's a city called Paris, and there's a place called Disney World, and there's schools and jobs and businesses and other people. But from the hamster's perspective, this is the whole universe. This is the whole world. They can't see out there. Now, think of your life sort of like being in this cage, in this hamster wheel, in this track. It's a finite experience. But if you pull back from that, and if you see how the universe really works and what's really going on here, and how this life that seems so long and so many challenges and so much going on is really just like a dream, like a really quick thing. Pull back and see that this one life is part of a series of experiences, a series of lives, just for the adventure of it, just for the expansion of it, that it's not really that important, that there's nothing serious happening here, that you don't have to be anything you don't want to be, that you can be anything you want to be. So if you can pull back just a little bit and see yourself the way we see you, well, then you become less limited, right? Because if you see yourself from a higher perspective and you know what's really happening and you know who you really are, then anything is possible. So, see yourself as we see you. We see you as magnificent and limitless beings of pure positive love and acceptance. There are no problems. There is nothing wrong happening. The difference between who you are being and who you really are is simply your perspective of yourself. So, are you going to get better? No. Can you get better? No. Can you improve? Impossible. Can you be more perfect than you are right now? No. Could you be more perfect than you were when you were a baby? No. You can read now. Does that make you more perfect? No. That's just another expanded version of you, right? You know more about the rules of the universe, the laws of the universe. Are you any more perfect? No. You just know more. You're just expanded. From this expanded place that you are, you can look at your life and all of a sudden the fears get less important. The fears get less serious. The illusion of danger becomes less of a reality and more of an idea, more of a feeling. You can feel that you're tensing up, that something you think is wrong, but you can process that. And from seeing yourself as this perfect, magnificent being that we see you, well, then everything gets a little bit easier. So here we are telling you that there's nothing you have to do. You can't get any better. This exchange that we're having now isn't going to make you better than you are now. You can't get better. All you're going to do is see yourself from the higher perspective. From that higher perspective, anything's possible. So with that, go forth and have fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else that you could ever want other than that?
No.
Now, who here sees themselves as perfect?
I do.
I
On
do.
it.
Okay, all of you, excellent, very good. Who does not see themselves as perfect right now? Is there anyone? Well, if you saw yourself as perfect, if you really saw yourself as perfect, then you would be living this less limited experience of life, right? You would be living, there would be nothing holding you back. Because to see yourself as perfect is to realize that you are capable of literally anything, of walking on water, of breaking bread and feeding millions, of that sort of thing, right? This expansive perfection that is you. So what's really happening is all of you, everyone on earth, is seeing themselves as a limited version of who they are. And by doing that, you invite fear. Now, it's not really possible to know yourself as perfect, yet, or to be who you really are, the full extent of that forever and every moment. But to see that you can go towards that, you can move towards that, and you can embrace that idea, well, that just gives you a lot more freedom, and hopefully you will be able to process fear a little bit more easily and have more fun along the way. Okay. So, having said that, who would like to talk about something to do with how they see themselves?
I would. I have been in my head way too much lately.
Well, where else
And
would you be?
I need to be in my heart. I need to come from this love, this love place that
Okay,
feels
so you are
good.
saying that the love resides in the heart but not the head.
Oh, for me, it does, because
Well-
the head is like judging and fearing and, all of these different,
So if you look at your grandchild
yeah.
and you have a thought about the grandchild, what is that thought?
Love.
And that thought is in your head, right?
Okay.
So all you're saying now is that you prefer to be more love-based in your thoughts. So you have love-based thoughts that exist in your head and fear-based thoughts that exist in your head. And all you want to do is to be or attract more love-based thoughts. And if you could see yourself the way we see you, the way you see your grandchild, if you could see yourself the way you see your grandchild, then you would simply see the magnificence that you see in your grandchild, in you. You perceive your grandchild as perfect, do you not?
Yes.
But you don't see yourself as perfect.
No.
And why not? We see you exactly the way we see your grandchild. You are perfect as you are now. You were perfect when you were your grandchild's age. Your grandchild is perfect now. Your grandchild will be as perfect now, later. It won't matter. Nothing about that baby will be less perfect at 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 90 or 100 years.
Yeah.
It's the same perfection. Yeah. So let's just say that the thoughts reside in your head because that's how it feels. Mm-hmm. The thoughts are actually all over you. And, the tree that you see with your eyes, does that exist in your head or is that out there in reality? Right? So the thoughts are all around you and they're just coming through you. You're perceiving them. They're a match to you. You might have 50 thoughts at the same time. You might have one thought at the same time. And then you might judge a thought as being a love-based thought or a fear-based thought. And then you can say, I choose to switch my vibration so that I resonate more with love-based thoughts. And when you notice a fear-based thought, because these thoughts are coming all the time, but when you notice one, you're going to feel a little bit of negative emotion. Mm-hmm. Because you're not vibrating the way you want to vibrate, the way that your inner self believes that is how you should be vibrating. Not that you should be vibrating anything, but here's the track that you intended to be on and the track you intended not to be on. The focus of what you prefer or the focus of what you do not prefer. Mm. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So talk to us again about your head and your heart now.
Well, okay. So maybe it's a transition. Maybe I'm transitioning because I do this often. I get to a very high point of feeling love and just radiating this and just like it's euphoric and I love that feeling. And then I don't even know why or what happens or how it slips, but I'll slip. And when I slip, I fall down and it takes me a while to get back up. Is that a process I will continue to go through? Is that a process that will lessen? I'm trying to love that process. I'm trying to accept that process, love that part of me that's going through the process.
Well, this is a common thing. You are now aware of who you really are and of an approach to life that is in tune with universal law. And so you believe that there is a certain way you should be now. You should be a being of love because that's who you are.
Right.
And now you notice it when you're not. Now you're taking responsibility for it where before you might have said, that's that person's fault. That's the fault of the conditions are wrong. This is how anyone would feel in a situation, right?
Gotcha.
Now you're saying to yourself, oh, I feel bad. I know better. So I blame myself for feeling bad because I know better. Where before you wouldn't have blamed yourself. You would have blamed someone else. So, so it's sort of a thing like you know what you should do, but you're not able to do it.
Right.
And so you beat yourself up instead of saying, hey, this is just another experience. Here I am getting to be this enlightened being, having an unenlightened moment. And now I can, wow, isn't that an interesting experience? Because that's all it is anyway, is an experience. You're not wrong. You can't be wrong for doing anything. You're not bad. You can't be bad. You're always good. You're always right. You're always perfect. And all you're here to do is have these experiences. Now, you could say that, oh, here's an experience of me going through this moment, feeling unaligned, out of alignment, perceiving something as wrong, not even able to focus on why I'm feeling this way, just feeling it. And then you can say, isn't this interesting? I will not have this experience. I will not have this feeling in the non-physical. I can only have this feeling in physical. This is a physical experience. It is not going to be with me when I transition to the non-physical. It is a physical experience. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to appreciate this experience when I transition to the non-physical because in that realm I could not experience that. That's why I came to physical reality. So it's okay. Now, going forward, I prefer to have more experiences of joy than to have these experiences of doubt or fear. Right?
Okay.
Now, you will never, ever, 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 ever get to a place where you don't experience fear. The experience of fear, the experience of these negative emotions, the only reason you could experience the negative emotions is because some fear is popping up, right? Means that you're moving forward. If you weren't moving forward, you would never feel fear. You would just stay in your room, watch TV, but even then you'd probably feel fear because you feel guilty for not going outside when it's a sunny day, that sort of thing. Right?
Yes.
So there's
always
this stuff. So don't worry about feeling fear. Don't worry about feeling negative emotion. Just realize that's what's happening, and that's proof that you're moving forward. And the only difference between a successful life and a limited life is not the avoidance of fear, but the ability to actually move through and process the fear. Right? So if you're feeling fear and you're feeling down and you realize what it is, and then you are blaming yourself because you think you should be better than you are, and you feel that fear and you realize that this is simply a perspective that's not in alignment with your inner self, and then you say, okay, well, in a couple days I'll feel better again. Or in a couple hours, or when I wake up tomorrow, or after I take a nap, or after I meditate, I'll feel better again. I know it's coming. I know the light's going to turn green. It's just a matter of time. And it isn't better to do it faster. I only do it faster because I prefer to feel good.
Got it. And so it's not resistance. I mean, I've had some headaches and I'm thinking, shit, am I going down this road again? So just appreciate it. Know that I'm moving forward because new things are coming up. Another layer of my onion's coming off.
Right. And it's always resistance. Right.
Yeah.
See, you can't experience fear without being in a resistant state.
Right.
If you were in an allowing state, you would just see that all these things are good. All these things that you're perceiving as now as bad, you would see them as good in an allowing state, because you would say that no matter what comes to me is for me. Therefore, there's no possibility of being upset because there's no possibility of feeling fear. So that means that in this little area, you're somewhat resistant. And the fear is pointing that part out. And if you can identify why it is, well, then maybe you can look at it. Or you can just say to yourself, it'll pass, it'll pass, it'll pass. Whatever's easier for you to do. No big assignment here. The key is that if you see yourself as this evolved being who's evolving and evolving, expanding, 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 and who knows more now than you did before, and who is seeing life from a higher perspective, and who is overall enjoying life so much more than before, then you can take a little pride in that you've actually done something for yourself. Actually done something to move yourself ahead. Actually have done the work. Actually are consciously creating the life you prefer. And the evidence of that is how you feel more of the time compared to how you felt before. And it's just a short blip of time that you've even been doing this.
Yeah.
So imagine what it's going to be like 50 years from now.
All right. I'm going to be dancing on that Joshua cruise.
Excellent. Very good. All right. Anything else? Okay. Who else would like to jump in? Just jump in.
When you were talking, this is Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Hi. When you were talking about the resistance, it came to me, is everything that we perceive to be like, okay, I get a lot of canker sores in my mouth. And when I get them, is that resistance, or does shit just happen sometimes? Does it always have anything that we don't like that comes in our life? Does that always have to be the definition of resistance? Because I can't find out what I'm resisting sometimes when those things come up. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm resisting anything. And I really try to dive deep and figure it out. But I mean, I had like one time like 4 canker sores in my mouth, and then it healed, and then another one came, and I don't know, that could happen, or anything else, illness or anything like that. Does it always have to be related to resistance?
The first sign of resistance is a fear-based thought that brings up negative emotion. You ignore those thoughts enough and enough and enough, and then your inner self has said that I've used these thoughts, that these thoughts and this negative emotion that I've sent Julie, that's not seeming to work. She's not paying attention. She is allowing these thoughts to be in her head. She's allowing herself to be worried or distressed or anxious or resentful or whatever it is, or try to control the situations.
Okay.
You have a fear-based thought, you have a negative emotion that is associated with that thought, and you say, the other person's wrong, or this is a wrong thing, that this should not have happened, this should not be this way. I defy it. I fight against it. I argue against it. Right? It's not for me. Just the thought. Then that thought has to turn into something physical. So it could turn into you cut your finger with a knife. You bump your car into a tree. You have someone say something mean to you. You perceive something like that. Something physical happens, or you get a canker sore. A little thing. These are not big things. These are little things, right? Notice that the canker sore will go away. It's just there to show you that you're resisting something. Now, is it really important that you identify exactly what it is? Not necessarily so. It is important that you understand that any unwanted physical condition is a sign of resistance. If it's something minor like a canker sore, you can work on your resistance right now. You can say, what do I think is wrong? What am I complaining about? What am I saying that I don't like? How am I voicing my opinions of what I don't like? Do you see that if it's in the mouth, probably has a little bit to do with what you're talking about?
Okay. I'm writing this down, so that's good.
Yeah. We're trying not to be too obvious, but if you hurt your foot, would it be resistance to moving forward? Gary used to hurt his foot every time some big event was going to happen. He broke his leg when he started his first business, or tore a ligament. He broke his foot before he got married the first time. He stepped on a nail before he got married the second time. All these things, resistance and moving forward into these big, what he perceived as big things. So all unwanted physical conditions can be defined by where they are in the body, if you want to, and can also be understood by how serious they are. If it's not serious, like a canker sore, if you know it's going to go away eventually anyway, then you could say, okay, it's a mild resistance I have here. How am I resisting? Well, what do I think is wrong? Now I have to look at that thing I think is wrong, or that thing that I think happened to me instead of for me, or I think that even this canker sore is wrong. I have to see it as a gift, as a message, as all these things are messages. And what is the message? What is the feedback that I'm getting? That I am orientating my vibration in a resistant way instead of an allowing way, right? There is dissonance, there is disruption in my vibration. On the one hand, I want these things. On the other hand, I don't want these things I say I want. If I wanted these things, I would go with the flow of all the stuff that's happening in my life. What I'm saying is I'm resisting changing into the person who will be ready for all the things I want. I want an expansive life, yet I'm afraid to do anything. Right? That inner conflict, that causes stress in the body, and the body, like the rest of physical reality, is a mechanism of feedback. It tells you how you're doing. The first is the thought. You are meant to pay attention to the negative emotion. But you don't do that. You believe that some other way your reality is created. That it just is. It's fate. Things happen. Bad stuff happens. It's unlucky. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. No. It's completely within your creative control, however you want it to be. You have free will. You set intentions before you came here. You can do anything you want, and the only reason you don't is because you think you can't. You think you're not good enough, you're not talented enough, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough money, you're this or that or whatever. It's all these limitations. You have no idea who you really are. You have no idea the magnificence that you are. If you could see yourself from the way we perceived you, you'd be blown away and shocked by what you could do. You would be shocked. All we're doing, we're not helping any of you other than helping you see yourself from a higher perspective. That's all we can do, right? We try and teach how the universe works, how the mechanism of physical reality really works, and then we try over these questions and answers to shape your perception of yourself so that more closely aligns who you really are and takes you away from this illusion of who you think you are. Because that illusion, while it was intended, is limiting. And you intended to move through that limitation, to experience reality in a certain specific way, to discover it, to explore it, and then to rise above that so that you can do what you really want to do. What do you really want to do?
Me?
Yes. What do you really want to do? What would you love to do?
I feel like I'm doing, I think, all of it. I mean, to the best of my knowledge. I'm teaching the classes that I love doing. I love teaching my classes. It's my passion.
And you love painting.
And I love painting. You could bring that up. Yes, and I love painting.
Excellent.
I really do.
And when was the last time you painted?
Not for a while.
And why not? Why haven't you painted?
Because I had this limiting belief that I don't have enough time. Because I got pregnant and I wanted to just be lazy and then had babies and all that. So. Excellent.
So you're saying you got lazy and had babies?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And I feel that without, I don't know, I had more contrast and chaos in my life and I had more to paint about. And I know I can probably change that mindset about, but...
Well, you could always paint unicorns farting rainbows.
Yes, I can do that too.
Hey, wait a minute. I trademarked that.
There's more and more people resonating with unicorns farting rainbows than ever before. They used to resonate with screaming people on bridges, and now they resonate with rainbows and ponies and things like that, which is a good thing.
Can you explain a little bit more about, you talked about resisting the people we're changing, resisting the person I'm changing into. That's where my resistance is, I believe. I feel like I'm standing on the edge, looking over, like I'm holding myself back. I just need to fall over the edge, and I can't bring myself to do it.
It's like you're about to bungee jump into who you really are.
Exactly.
You know that the ropes are tied to your ankles, but you can't get yourself to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've tried everything to get myself off that.
Why would you not want to do that which you know is for your highest good?
I guess I still doubt that what if I do that? What if I let go and I dive into it and it's just not what I thought it was?
Maybe it'll be better than you thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility too, but you know how I think. So my first thought is, well, what if I do this and it doesn't work, that it just doesn't work for me?
Then you get to try again.
Just keep trying.
But it will
What
work
if it's
for
like
you.
the horseback? What if it's like the horseback riding, where if it's not that, I don't know, whatever you fall into or step into, then you find something else and you step into that, and then you find something else and then you step into that.
Yeah, well, at what point do you become the allower too, and just allow it to unfold the way it needs to, right?
Let's go with the flow of it. So here you are, climbing up to the top of the bungee jump, and this is the highest bungee jump you've ever jumped. You've jumped actually little ones before, and it's no problem. This is the high one. Right. And so you're jumping off into something you know is for your highest good.
Right.
And so there's resistance to that because it seems scary. Now, when you're bungee jumping and you've seen hundreds of people and you've even done it yourself and you see the cords tied to your ankles and you see the harness and the safety equipment and you know that it's safe, right? But this is the illusion of danger, right? Your eyes are looking out over the river, the canyon that you're going to jump into. It seems like a long wait down there. It seems dangerous. It seems like you could break a cord and hit your head, and that'd be the end of it, right?
Right.
But you know better.
Yes, I do, because I've felt it. I have taken that jump, and it's like I said, it's euphoric. But then I find myself right back on that ledge, and oh no, can't go back over that ledge. So is it just different layers?
So all of it is a process of climbing back up there again, going to higher and higher and higher and higher, and just being brave, realizing that the danger is perceived, it's not real, it's an illusion. Okay, this is the most important thing we have to say, is that any danger that you perceive is an illusion. If it's not going to kill you, if you have evidence that it's safe, that just because you are going to take this leap into this unknown, that's what you're here for anyway. And even if it could kill you, right?
Then that's what was supposed to happen.
Exactly. Yep. So the idea of being authentic is nothing more than getting good at moving through fear. Not letting fear limit you. Just moving forward to do what you want to do. So how would you take this leap? What is this leap all about anyway? What are you holding back?
See, I don't know. I know I don't know, but damn it, I'm holding it back with all my might.
What makes you think that?
Because that's how I feel, and that's why I get.
So you think you should be more expansive than you are? Okay.
I should be more, like, just allowing. I should be more loose. I'm too tight.
More fun.
Just like
more happy.
Go out there, more mix it up.
More loving.
Mix it up
more joyful.
Loving. Exactly.
You are all those things. You are the most loving, joyful, happy, fun person we know. Right.
Could someone let my head know that?
We see it. Everyone here sees it. You are a brave being of love.
A brave being of love. I like that.
And you're moving through these fears. And so, from time to time, you occasionally bump up across something that causes you to lose a little bit of alignment. Big deal.
All right.
And then you get feedback with a migraine because you're thinking. You're too much in your head. This headache because of thinking. Because you think that thoughts are should be thought through your heart in love rather than through your head in fear. And yet it's all coming in the same place. It's just a matter of vibration. You get a canker sore. You hurt your foot. It's all this indication of a little resistance. Little resistance. Tiny resistance. Yep. You're not paralyzed. You're not in a full body cast. You didn't fall off a cliff. Little tiny resistance.
Exactly. I need to fall off that cliff.
Be in a body cast.
No.
So does anyone else have a health issue? An unwanted physical condition? Or has anyone had an accident? Or has anyone hurt themselves? Or hurt their...
Not an accident, but, little health stuff here and there. And I mean, part of me goes along with our cultural beliefs that it's age. Things are starting to happen.
Do you really age?
No.
Is there any such thing as age?
My face is telling me it is.
Your face is different, but has it aged? Are the cells on your face that old? What's the oldest cell on your face? 4 years? 5 years? Does any cell of your body live longer than 5 years?
Isn't the general belief that it's 7 years and then
7 years?
Complete renewal?
Complete renewal, right. So it's some finite amount of years. And we say 4 or 5, and you might say 7 or 2 or whatever. It's different for every person. But you are renewed with new cells all the time. Now, your body changes so that you can have new perspectives of life. So that when you're 1, your perspective of reality is different than when you're 2, 3, 4, 10, 15, 20. Isn't 15 so much different than 13 or 10 or 20? Right? Isn't that a completely different perspective? Isn't 50 so much different than 20 or 30? Isn't it great that that one day the perspective is not so much different, but 1 year is a little different, and 1 decade is a lot different? Isn't it great that you get to see reality from these expanded places? And so you don't age. You just expand your perspective. So there's nothing wrong with aging. There's nothing actually aging. It's just a new perspective from a different place. Now, at this place where you believe that you're aging, that you're Do you believe that you're stronger or weaker or better or worse?
Probably stronger.
How do you feel
But-
now, physically, compared to how you felt when you were 20?
Healthier, fitter, and stronger, but at the same time, I'm getting more little aches and pains, and maybe I just didn't notice them, or I didn't have them. Maybe there's more resistance now.
Would you prefer those aches and pains that you have now to the clarity of mind that you had, or we should say the absence of clarity of mind that you had when you were 20? Isn't that a better trade-off to
I
have this
prefer where I am now, yeah.
Yeah. So you have a mix of things. Let's say that when you're 20, you had maybe a little more energy, a little more flexibility, yet your mind was a much limited version of your mind. Your perspective was much more limited. You might have had different hormones going on. You might have thought differently about yourself and the world. It was a completely different perspective. And we're not saying that that perspective is better or worse, but we can say that from your perspective now at this age, you can look back and you can say, well, there were some things that were good about that and some things that I preferred now. And overall, I can see how where I am now is a result of all that I've lived, and I can appreciate what I have now because it's a wonderful thing. And then you can go on to be healthy and happy and vital and focused on what you want. And if a little pain comes up, well, maybe you take a little break from the gym.
Yeah.
And
Or from using the mouse on the computer or something.
Yes. Or maybe you get a massage. Maybe you do something fun. Maybe you dance. Do you dance much?
Well, at the gym, I do, because they put on this blaring music, and I love it. It's just an hour of forgetting.
We occasionally see a video of you dancing. You seem young to
I
us.
love watching you dance. Yeah.
Excellent.
I
So
concur.
everything's all perspective. A little ache and a little pain here. Well, that's just a perspective thing. And you can pay attention to it. But if you think it's wrong, if you think it shouldn't be happening, well, that's the resistant part of it. Right? Yep. So if you think that, I should be able to jog more, I should be able to do this more, I should be able to lift more weights, I used to be able to do this and now I can't do it, that's all resistance. If you can say, all these new cells are coming to this new body, and this body is being rejuvenated and refreshed by new energy every single day, millions of times a day, and I can be as vital as I want to be, and I'm clear, and my thoughts and perspective is aligned with what I want, and I get to do all these things I can do now that I couldn't do when I was younger, and I get to live this life now that I couldn't live when I was younger, and I get to take advantage of all these opportunities that are available to me now that were not available to me when I was younger. This life now, in this moment, is as good as it gets. It's fantastic. And from this point forward, I can do anything I want. There is nothing holding me back. I am grateful for what I have. I appreciate everything that's going on. I appreciate my body, my life, all this stuff. I'm grateful for it all. I'm focused on the greatness. And if there's a little pain coming up, well, I'm just going to take a break. I know it'll go away. I know it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you can do that, that's all about focusing on what's good instead of focusing on what is perceived as wrong.
Yeah.
Because nothing is wrong. There is no wrong. It's all good.
Yeah.
And that's an allowing approach to life. A non-resistant approach to life. Which seems like you can't get anything fixed if you have that approach to life, doesn't it? But you'll be inspired to do the things that will lead you towards what is wanted, right? So if you were to say, I should just ignore the fact that I have this toothache. I don't need to see a dentist. I know it'll go away. Well, if you say, this toothache came to me for a reason, I see that there might be a little resistance there. I understand that this is an indication of some inner conflict that I have. I wonder what I was thinking that was wrong. And I am going to regroup, start thinking about what I appreciate, and then know that an idea will come to me, and that will lead to the removal of this pain. And it'll lead to the realignment of who I am and towards what I truly want, which is a healthy, pain-free mouth, right? I don't say that toothache is a bad thing, that it's a horrible thing, that it should not have happened, that it's wrong to happen, that I shouldn't have been eating sugar or whatever caused it. I say no. It is a sign, it is an indication of some resistance. I'm going to think about what that was. I'm going to get to an allowing state, and I know at that point I'll be inspired to do nothing if that's what will work, and the pain will go away on its own, to see a dentist, to do whatever it is that needs to be done. Your body knows what you need, and it will inspire you to do what is best for it. But if you think that that ache and pain is wrong, when the body is possibly letting you know that there's some resistance, or that you're paying attention to yourself in a way that is not beneficial. For instance, you had some bodily conditions that were happening when you were running too much at some point. Is that right? Kate?
Sorry, yes, I put myself on mute and
Yes.
then I started talking. Yeah, I had that, and that has repaired itself for the most part, but I can't run anymore, but that's okay. But now what's happening is I have the ankle on the same leg, which just keeps swelling. And I can't figure out why. It's just really swollen most of the time after a day sitting in the office, and it looks ugly.
So after a day sitting in the office, it swells up.
Yep.
So what is that telling you?
It tells me I should be standing up. I don't know.
Or lying down, or
I
walking
can't figure it
around.
out.
Exactly. Yeah. So you are here sitting in your office thinking, oh, I should be doing something else. I'm sitting all day. Why am I here? Blah, 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 blah. And so your ankle is an indication of this resistance to where you are, to what you're doing.
Yep.
So what can you do now? Does it hurt to walk on? Does it hurt to dance on? Does it hurt?
No, it's just tight and ugly.
Right.
It doesn't hurt. It's just tight and ugly.
Yeah. So be a little bit less resistant towards your office, towards sitting. Walk around more while you're at the office. Dance around more while you're there at the office. Enjoy your time at the office. Feel good for being there. Feel good that you get to sit. Feel good that you get to be in a building with a roof over your head and away from the elements and focused on interesting stuff with interesting people, getting paid tons of money to do easy stuff compared to a roofer, for instance, or a plumber, or someone who works in the sewer. You don't have to do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's true. And probably the carpal tunnel is related to.
I wish I didn't have to move this mouse around all day long.
Yep. As for the bridge in my mouth, which fell out last week, that's another story. So, all's good.
We do not have time for that. That bridge story is too much.
Sorry, yep.
Now you're just hogging airtime.
I know, too much information, sorry.
Excellent. All right. So we've understood this health idea. Let's go on to something more fun. Who's got anything fun to talk about? What good thing has happened? What exciting thing has happened? Who's doing well? Anybody? You all?
Tyler, let's talk about what you were talking on the video.
What? I don't know. I'm doing well. Which part?
All of it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm doing well, but I'm also, yes, I'm doing well. I feel like I'm experiencing fear, but like you were talking about, it doesn't, I know the new approach. And so I recognize it and see it and sort of start, I don't even start to go down that path really. except in situations with my kids still. But so things feel really good overall. I did just have this manifestation event yesterday where we'd had a play date. This boy came over who there's a bit of a history with, just in terms of the dynamic between him and my son and how I perceive it and how my kid's dad perceives it and how the other kid's parents perceive it. And so it's just this interesting mix. And these parents who I could see myself being friends with of this other child, I have hung out with the mom a couple times and had mentioned this work that I'm doing and had briefly mentioned back when I was starting up the sex podcast. And so we haven't really, we speak really generally since then. She just asked me how things are going and I say very well. And so yesterday she dropped off her son. And then after that, her husband came to pick him up. And he was making conversation and asked how work was going. And I said, oh, it's going very well. I didn't know what he knew. And so I said, I've transitioned and now I'm doing these podcasts and blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, well, can we hear them? And I just froze. And I don't know. It doesn't even matter what he thought. But I was like, oh, yes. Yeah. And I guess I explained myself that it hadn't really crossed over into real life very much, this work that I'm doing. And so he was very gracious and just said, oh, well, if you ever decide you'd like to share, we'd love to hear. And so then I was just like, my heart was pounding after that because I didn't know what he was asking about. There were just a lot of layers to it. And so it threw me off my game for a minute. And yesterday after processing it, got to a place where I could do it. And I talked to myself, I guess I proved my fears false, or I found the truth, which is that in this community of parents at this school that I have, by coincidence not, ended up at with my son, it's this really open, warm, accepting place where people are super supportive of, all different types of ventures. People have, gone to workshops or just reached out to support. So my fears of just being exposed, but I know that like Wendy, you're talking about, that's this place where I'm at, and I feel like I've just leaped and I'm kind of hanging in midair right now.
And that's why this manifestation event happened in the first place.
Okay.
Right? It's just feedback showing you, here you are leaping in midair and you're having this wobble in your vibration.
Right.
You are perceiving some sort of danger. It's an illusion, right? Mm-hmm. You are not doing what you are inspired to do, or you're not being who you know you are. You know who you are. Mm-hmm. And yet when you worry about what someone thinks of you, well, that's not being who you are. And so you get this immediate feedback from people who are very supportive. It is not as if it's, a judge or anything, right? It's just friends, nice people.
I acknowledge the gentle nature of it.
Gentle nature, exactly.
Right.
So there is your opportunity to say, what I am doing is my passion. It's what I believe in. I understand that it is not normal. It's not what normal people think is right, but they're living by an old approach to life based in fear. And I am choosing a new approach to life based in how I understand the universe to work. Right. And I can see that this new approach to life and allowing and receiving is so much more effective than my old approach of controlling and contriving and being different than who I was just to eke out something I thought I wanted. Mm-hmm. So now in the new approach to life, I understand that I get to do what I want to do. I get to be anyone I want to be. Yeah. And as I do this, I notice how things are unfolding. Things are getting better. Things are more interesting. Things are more fun. Yeah. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling good. And yet, there's still fear. I will still have to work through this fear because who I want to be, who I intended to be before I came here, is this incredibly powerful person that I don't see myself as yet. But I know that is evolving, and I'm expanding into that. And I can see how I'm expanding into that. So reality will give me feedback on how I'm doing, how well I'm progressing towards that which I intended to be. I'm allowing, feeling a bit of wobble, and poof, feedback comes along. And now I can think about, well, how would I act if I was the most famous self-help guru in the world.
Yeah.
I would be telling them
Yeah.
all about it. They couldn't get away from me.
Right.
I would explain how dramatically this approach to life increases everyone who tries it, increases their experience of life. I would latch on to these people, and I would not let them leave. If that's what you believed, if that's how you saw yourself, you would just act in a different way. And it's not that you have to act that way. It's nice to know the difference between how you're being and how you would be.
And I'm aware of that. Like, okay, so that space is getting easier and easier for me to be in with strangers, like these coffee shop conversations that I go to, and going to this bar that I go to that's basically like my living room. I don't even go there to drink. I just go there and just watch and observe.
Because you have no attachment. There's no consequences, right?
Right.
You're not attached to what they think.
Right. And so I am, and so I've been practicing it in these arenas, like being really comfortable getting into these conversations that may be initially perceived by me as uncomfortable or not somebody that I would normally think that I would want to talk to, but just like allowing whatever happens to happen. Whoever approaches me for a reason, I assume. And so I'm just open to whatever is about to come out of that conversation. And in those situations, I've been handing out Joshua cards left and right and like preaching. I mean, I have negative connotations
You're not
associated with
preaching,
that word, but essentially,
yes. You are
expressing my passion for my thing, and this is one of my things.
We're trying to get at the word evangelizing, which also might have negative connotations.
Yes.
But what that is just you are bringing forth the love in your heart for what you're doing. And it would be the same. Imagine being a painter and making the most beautiful paintings in the world, and yet being afraid to show them to anyone.
Right. Right.
That's in essence what is happening.
And
now you'll show them to complete strangers who are coming by because you have no attachment to them or what their opinion of you, but you're not going to show them to your ex or to people who go to the same school as your children because you are attached to what they think about your paintings. Well, the interesting thing is, isn't it great that you have an ex? And isn't it great that you have children that you have to protect or be protective of this relationship, right? Because without that, you would be just thinking that you could go and do whatever you wanted to do. Now you have a dynamic there where it's safe to be who you are in front of people who don't matter, and it's difficult to be who you are in front of people who really matter.
Yeah.
And you get the perspective of this. It's an awesome thing that couldn't have happened otherwise.
Yeah. And so the way I've come to see it is like I'm practicing on strangers. I'm practicing getting comfortable with the feeling of it. And I've done it. I mean,
Which is a big
done
thing.
that a lot with men. Like,
it's
and I'm seeing how different the feedback is that I get when I approach anything from that space that I'm in when I'm with, somebody who I'm not emotionally invested in.
From a space of pure love. From a space of pure love. And that's what it is. You're not trying to be anyone that's inauthentic. You're being what you really think from love just being it. I mean, you're not even having this desire to change those people or to make them believe what you believe. Right. You're just
when I'm in that place,
expressing it.
Yeah, when I'm in that place, I feel like I'm looking at everybody around me like you do. Like you look at me, you, like source probably, like who, I don't know. It's that perspective. And it's when when the conditions are just right is when it's easy for me to like reside in that space. And so I'm not always, I don't know. I enjoy it. I appreciate it when I'm there and I'm seeing it happen more and more, and that feels good to me.
And then the feedback you get in that space is always positive.
Yeah, like overwhelmingly in a good way. Yeah.
Yes. And if you were to get feedback, if you were to come across a skeptic, well, that would just illustrate that your beingness was not pure love.
Right.
But since it is pure love, right, in occasions when it is pure love, then your feedback is always overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. That happened last night where at this place, like, I was being love, and then, like, slipped into, like, fix-it mode. kind of with this person that I was interacting with. And there was just this shift that was very, I don't know, noticeable. And I was completely okay with it. And I allowed it to happen. And I just observed it. But yeah, it was interesting just to see how quickly like it happened. The second I started trying to like tell him what he should do instead of speaking about me and my experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And isn't it fascinating that you can be aware of how this works in the moment? Mm-hmm. You can be so in tune with what's going on and who you really are and how the universe really works. And with all the stuff you've been doing, that you can now see the universe in action in the moment. And and you can feel the vibration. And when the vibration gets a little screwy, then you can be pretty sure something's going to come up, right? And then you can work it back in, ease it back in, or you can resist it. And if you resist it, then you can feel that. You can really, you'll see an argument start. You'll see someone get upset. You'll see fear come through. And if you can release the fear and go back to how it was, you can see how it all smooths out. Mm-hmm. That's how the universe works in every single aspect of every single day of every single person's life on the planet. There is never a time when it doesn't work that way.
That's so cool.
If there is anything happening, it's happening for you. It has to. There's no accidents, no coincidences, nothing random. It is all according to the vibrations that are going out. And what happens to someone else has no effect on you because it's their vibration. And if you are aware of it, then only from the aspect that you're aware of it does it have any relevance to you whatsoever. And if you choose to be aware of things that you may not be interested in, or we should say that you may not prefer, but somehow you're being aware of it anyway, like watching the news, for instance, well, then that's because there's some resistance within you that thinks that, well, you should know these things, it's important to know these things, and if you don't know them, you could be affected by them in some way. And it's just that tiny bit of resistance brings up these tiny little things that get in your craw and affect your vibration only to the tiny little extent that you think about it. You know, if you are sitting here afraid of terrorists and terrorism and think terrorism is a bad thing, well, you're just going to see more stories of terrorism. It doesn't mean it's going to personally affect you. It's just going to affect you in the nuanced way that you thought about it. Now, if you thought terrorism was really bad, and so you decided to join the army and go over and fight terrorism, well, then that terrorism will get more real in your life because you think it's much more wrong than the person who just casually thinks it's wrong. You think it's so wrong that you actually were inspired out of the wrongness of it, and we won't say from that perspective, there's a lot of different things that could come up for you. But we're just being the very general idea here that you would join the army so you go over and make things right. And then that thing you think is wrong is really going to come into your reality. So by being easy about everything, by seeing nothing as wrong, then you're not affected by anything you do not prefer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great concept.
Yeah. We invented that one.
And all the others.
Has anyone else had anything happy happen to them? Or is it all misery down there?
Down here, it's mayhem and misery.
Or no, is anything good happening in your life?
Well, I was just thinking how I've been, I guess there's been loads of good things happening in my life, but I've been bothered about my vibration of abundance in the past couple of days. And I know that's a very old approach to life, to be bothered about this. So I've been trying to look into what it might tell me.
Well, what makes you think you're bothered? Are you worried?
Yeah, I'm not. I feel. So just looking at my accounts is not a pleasing thought, and my bank account, for instance.
Excellent. So do you have a bank account?
I do, yes.
Is there anything in it at all?
It's overdrawn.
So there's less than nothing in there. Excellent.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you're on the same financial abundance as most of the people of the world. So
yeah.
you're average. You're not even doing bad. You're just average.
Yeah.
Excellent. But actually, you are realistically living where you live and being who you are and understanding what you understand and actually having access to what you have access to. You're at the top 5% of all the abundant people on the earth. So in this pie of abundance, you've somehow found your way into the top 5%. So you are literally one of the most abundant people that have ever walked the face of the earth. And the abundance, and we're only talking about financial abundance here too. You are so financially abundant that you can have this communication with people all over the world in this garden of this wonderful house, in this safe environment, that you are living better than any king who has ever lived or any emperor who has ever lived, that your lifestyle, what you have access to. And let's just talk about abundance in general. Are you going without? You have all the air you need. You have all the water you need. You have all the food you need. You have housing. You have access to everything you need. You are not going without. You are just perceiving that you should be somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
That there should be this statement of abundance, a ledger of abundance, that a store of value, and all that is your desire to feel secure in your abundance. How old are you?
I'm 46 years old.
Okay. So, how of those 46 years, how many of those years were you homeless?
About 10. No, I'm joking. I've never been homeless.
How many of those years have you gone without food, water, or air to breathe?
No, I've never been.
So you're saying that the universe has proven to you that you have gotten everything you've needed to get at every moment of your life for 40-something years, 46 years. And yet, on this 46th year and so many months and so many days, you decide that you're no longer abundance because the bank account, this one little thing you think means anything, right, is overdrawn. But the universe has proven to you that you get everything you need when you need it over and over and over and over again till the universe is blue in its universe face. And yet you don't believe the universe. You believe that at some point you had a good run, you made it 46 years being completely abundant, getting everything you ever needed. But on this next day now, all of a sudden, poof.
Well, I'm not
Tell us
particularly.
Yes, you're not particularly worried. You're what? Are you particularly
I'm not worried
enthusiastic?
I'm gonna go homeless, or that's just made me. I was wondering whether, like you just said, it was telling me that I didn't have the trust that on a certain level I know all these things and I understand all these things, but do I have the trust in the process? So I'm trying to work on that.
Yeah. And how are you working on that?
Is it I'm working on that to look at to see of all the other aspects of abundance that I have, and there are many of them, but also to look to think of what it is that I truly want. And if I want thousands of pounds to roll into my bank account overnight, why do I want it? What do I want it for? And we will say
that? Even more than this. This is a wonderful subject, and we intend to raise your vibration around the subject of abundance because it is your birthright. You came here knowing that you would live in abundance, and
that's what I'm telling myself all the time.
And the difference between the abundance that exists for you and your perception of abundance is the same thing as the difference between who you really are and your perception of you. So, what would have to happen for there to be £1 million in the bank account?
I would have to feel like I
You would have to
£1 million.
be the person who would have £1 million in the bank.
Yeah.
Now, what is your idea of someone who has £1 million in the bank?
Well, living with a certain level of luxury.
Well, who is this
House.
person? Is this person happy or sad? Are they working all the time? Do they not work at all? Who are they?
Well, if I was a person with £1 million, I would be a happy person living in my
Aren't you happy
dream
now?
house with a. I am happy,
You're happy now. Right.
but yeah.
So why don't you have £1 million in the bank? If your idea of someone who is wealthy is ecstatically happy or happy, are you as happy as this person, or are you less happy, or do you really think that this person's happy? Do you see people walking? Gary and Lily used to tell this joke when they lived in Palm Beach and they were surrounded by millionaires, that they would see these people riding around in their Rolls Royces and their Ferraris with just ear-to-ear grins on their faces. And people would say, really? And they'd say, no, it never happens that way. They're never happy. There's not one happy rich person. Of course, that's not true, but that's the perception that they have, right?
Yeah.
It seems, though, as though these rich people are doing things they don't want to do or doing things that they do want to do.
I don't think that my happiness depends on the amount of money that I have, and I feel happy now as I am, and I don't.
What about your level of security? Do you have to have £1 million in the bank to feel secure that the universe will provide you with everything you need?
No, not £1 million. I'd like to have enough money in the bank to be able to do things more spontaneously. So deciding to go somewhere exotic just on the spur of a moment.
Didn't you recently go somewhere?
Buying a house.
Nice.
I did, yes.
And maybe you shouldn't have done that, because then you would have money in the bank.
That's true.
So does it even matter, the money? You did what you wanted to do. And now you're proving to yourself that you shouldn't have done that.
I don't regret it.
Excellent. Very good.
No,
We are making
don't
fun.
have
We are just
buyer's remorse.
We are making fun with you. Yes.
I think I'm just trying to find that vibration of abundance that
is eluding you.
Yeah.
Is it eluding you?
Looking at,
is the vibration of abundance eluding you?
I know that if I look at it in that way, it is. If I look at it and say I haven't got that vibration of abundance, then I'm focusing on the wrong end of the stick.
Exactly.
So
can you feel abundant when you notice that you have a bank account that's overdrawn? Is it possible?
No.
Okay.
No.
But could it be possible for someone to feel that way?
I guess so, yeah.
Well, it's a stretch there for you to believe that, isn't it? But if your idea of abundance was the ability to do what you want to do, what you need to do when you need to do it, then it wouldn't matter how much money was in the bank. It wouldn't matter at all. You're just thinking that the money is the answer to do what you need to do when you need to do it. You're just saying that I think that it's easier to do what I need to do if I have the money. And we're saying that is absolutely not true at all. Because if you were the type of person who needed, let's just say, £10,000 in the bank to feel secure, well, you would get the £10,000 in the bank, and you would still not do anything unspontaneous because that would dip you below £10,000. Let's say that you were the type of person that needed £100,000 in the bank to feel secure. Right? Well, you still wouldn't do anything spontaneous because that would mean you would have to dip below that £100,000. Right? So it doesn't matter what's in the bank. It doesn't make you any more spontaneous or less spontaneous, right? You just think that it would. And that's the illusion there. Because the type, if you really were, there are people here listening who would say, I would never, ever let my bank account be overdrawn. It would never happen to me because they would feel so much fear and so much insecurity around that they would do whatever it took to have whatever money they had to have in the bank. But that doesn't make them more abundant than you. It makes you actually more abundant than them because you realize that it doesn't really matter. You still get to live your life in an abundant way. You still get to live this fabulous life than the person who is working hard and not doing anything and not having any life so they can squirrel away a few pounds in their bank account so they can feel secure. All that is a way for them to feel secure. They haven't learned to feel secure by trusting that the universe will provide them with whatever they want. So, yes, if you focus on this amount of money in a bank that's proof of your lack of abundance, then you're looking at the wrong end of the stick. But we are saying to you that you are far more abundant by not having the money in the bank than someone else who has to change their life to do what they do not want to do just so they feel secure. So you may think you feel insecure, you may think you worry, you may think this is a little problem, but compared to so many others, you have this excellent way of looking at it. Because you know down deep in your core that everything always does work out, that it'll be fine, that the money will come, that you're going to get paid next week or whatever, that you'll figure it out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think in a way it's a bit like what you said to Wendy earlier. It's more about why. It's probably more about my perception of myself. Why do I get bothered about this when I know what I know?
Right.
And it's more about maybe beating myself up for still being at that stage of being affected by it when I know that it's all gonna work out for me in the end anyway.
Gary got interested in law of attraction for the sole purpose of getting rich again. That was the only thing that interested him in the whole thing. He said, if I get into this, it's because this is how I'm going to get rich again, get back to that money. And a lot of people are interested in the abundance aspect of law of attraction. How do I attract abundance? Well, you already have abundance. How do you realize the abundance you have? And how do you get focused on your life so that you feel abundant, that you understand the abundance that's there? And then you move away from doing that which you do not want to do simply to be secure and move towards doing your passion, knowing that the side effect of your passion will be to have everything you need when you need it so you can pursue that passion. This is how the universe works. The universe says, we are going to bring to you everything you need when you need it to do what you're passionate about. And if you pretend that you need money in the bank to feel secure, then you will tend to do something for money rather than doing something for love. And you may or may not make the money, but you might not have a good time making the money. If you do what you love to do, knowing that the universe has to support you in that, has to give you everything you need out of that, then whatever you need will come. And if money is the tool of least resistance, money will flow. And if money isn't, then other things will flow. People will bring you places. People will see what a fun, lively person, and they'll say, we want Arnaud to come with us to Puerto Vallarta because Arnaud is vibrating this fun energy, and we just want to be with this person. And who cares if this person has money? We're going to bring this person with us.
I'm going there, Arnaud. Come with me.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, for my birthday next week.
What a coincidence. And how did that happen? Did you have the money for that?
No. I mean, my friend who travels for work, she has a companion pass for flights and she has Marriott points. So she asked me where I wanted to go and I picked a spot and now we're going.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
The universe will bring you everything you need when you need it to do what you need to do. And that ain't about putting money in the bank, because that is just going to make it another layer that may not be necessary or needed. Who cares about that? That is not important. In this moment, as you people are talking on this, or if you're listening on this, is there any need for money to do what you're doing now?
No.
Right now, no.
You couldn't, if you had a suitcase full of money, there's nothing you could do with it right now.
No.
If you're focused on this conversation, there's nothing you can do with money. Money is useless. What you can do is flow ideas and thoughts and have this conversation and be aware of what's happening. You have everything you need. You have an internet connection. You have a computer. You have a microphone and a headpiece and earphones. You have everything you need. There's nothing else you need. And the money's not going to help that. The internet connection helps it, right? So you have that. Somehow you have that. A computer, somehow you have that. And you say, oh, well, we had money to do this. Well, that is just the flow of how everything works. Because the desire is to get the computer and to get the internet connection so I can have this conversation. And so you have everything you need. And when you have a desire for something else, if you allow that desire to manifest by not saying it can't happen, it has to happen this way, it's taking too long, well, whatever needs to line up with it will line up. Now, we say, forget about what you think you want and just be easy, go with the flow, and allow what you intended to experience before your birth to unfold into your reality. Isn't that a weird thing to say?
Yeah.
We're talking about law of attraction, and really you're learning, you all came to this so that you could manifest what you wanted, and so that the life that you wanted to live would manifest into your reality. But what you really want is the life that you want to not be in the life that you have. You want to be in a different life. You want to fix the things that are wrong in your life. If I can change this person, and if I can change this job, and if I can change this bank account, then I would be happy. Well, that's not how it works.
No.
You set these intentions. Your intention was what? Number one intention before coming into physical reality was what?
Joy.
Joy.
If you just felt joy all the time, would money help that? No. If you were just letting joy unfold into your life, minute after minute, moment after moment, joy, 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 happy, 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 unicorns, farting rainbows, happy, happy, happy. You don't even think that's a good thing. No. I'd rather have $1 million than joy. Right? Okay. What's the second thing you wanted to experience? And that you knew. Love. How corny is this program? Turn this program joy and love. That's not realistic. I need to sit at my desk and move my mouse around for a while for 8 hours a day. That's what I came here for. You can type into my computer. That's what it's all about. You came here so that your eyes would well up with tears of joy, so that you would feel joy coursing through your body, that you would feel love for everyone and everything that exists in your reality. That's why you came here. And then to expand. Expand, you can't help but expand, so you can expand anyway. And to maybe dip your toe into a little bit of nuance of reality and see what it's like to think you're not worthy, or to feel fear, or to go through something, or to be born into a big family or a small family, or be disconnected or abandoned, all this stuff, right? That's a little side effect. That's a little tiny thing. The vast majority of what you intended to experience is love and joy and passion and fun and excitement and interest and exuberation, exhilaration, all that stuff. And challenge. You knew it was going to be challenging. You wouldn't play this game if it wasn't challenging. It's challenging. That's part of it. So that's what you're doing. Enjoy it. Have fun. Bring out that fun stuff more. Bring out that joy more. Bring out that love more. Focus on that. Realize everything's going great. Realize what you have to appreciate. Realize how much abundance there is. How incredible this life is. Focus on what you want. Not worry about what you don't want. Focus on this moment, not what happened in the past or what you think might happen in the future. Everything's fine right now. Is anyone dying right now? I mean, is there anyone dying? Like dying, not like you're going to die of something, but everyone's still alive. We guarantee you that by the end of this conversation, you'll all still be living. And even if you weren't living, it'd still be good. Yeah. What are you afraid of? You're afraid of negative emotion. That's the only thing you're afraid of. Negative emotion. Big deal. Negative emotion. Get over it. Get on with it. Process it. It's just your lapse of alignment. Big deal. Okay. So having said all that, doesn't it feel weird to feel bad?
Yes.
You know, knowing what you know.
Yeah.
So silly to feel bad. There's no reason for it. It's like going to Disney World and looking at all the rides and knowing you could do anything you want, and then there's one person in line in front of you and going, it's too long. Can't wait.
Too long.
This line's too long. This place sucks. This line is so long. I'm like, no, this goes real quick. Nope, it's the line. I would like this place without the lines. I would like it if I was here by myself, then it'd be fun.
I'd like it if I could change the conditions.
If I could just have a pass to go to the front of the line every time, you know why I like that? Because it makes me feel good about myself. Because here I am. Look how good I am. I get to go to the front of the line while all you losers wait in line behind me. Right? That's what you're doing when you try and change the conditions. Right? Instead of just being there and being amazed at this place that's been created just for you. So be amazed at this place that was literally created just for you so that you could have these experiences, have these conversations, feel these things you can't feel in the non-physical, and just enjoy your socks off. And with that, we are complete.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woohoo!
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Joshua Live. If you have a question you would like Joshua to answer on the show, send us a message on Facebook at www.facebook.com/teachingsofjoshua. As always, remember that you are loved more than you can imagine by more than you could ever count. We'll see you next time.